Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, hit the subscribe button because you will find my videos both interesting and intriguing. Tap on the like button and don't forget to be part of this conversation by simply sharing your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now in today's video, we look at a powerful dialogue as palm color individuals confront the painful truths and legacy of slavery. Now in this video, palm color people go hard on themselves by agreeing to say they need to stop hiding and face the truth and ugliness of what they did to black people. Now they talk about different things but pointing to one thing, which is the ugliness of slavery and what it did to black people. What the United States need to do is to embrace it and say this is where we went wrong, this is how it went, this is why it can't go wrong again. But unlike doing this, the United States really present 400 years of slavery as if it's just okay and people just need to move on, which isn't right. But check out these videos. I will be right back, and when I do, we talk more about this.
1 and 2, and embrace it and say, this is where we went wrong. This is how it went wrong. This is why it can't go wrong again. And I think they have done a very commendable job in doing so, but the United States really hasn't. You present it and say, well, 400 years of slavery. Yeah, but we're moving on. And it's like, no, let's really discuss it. How did that happen? How did we get to a point where we treated other human beings as slaves and we're okay with that? When I see the Make America Great Again, my comment is, do you accept that could possibly be construed as a remark? And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be? Make America great again? I said, so just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African-American? When was it great? So if you're making it great again, it's not including them. So it's to teach us in the woke world to open up and accept the possibilities that our privilege has created blind spots for us. And maybe I haven't seen what is really happening yet in all my years.
If you're, please stick around. Let's get into it. When in American history was going on? Let's start at the end of the Civil War, which was indisputably fought over slavery. When the Confederacy lost, black people were given constitutional rights. But making a law saying that black people were people did not convince supremacists who lost the war and were kind of butthurt about it. After the Civil War, there was a brief period that we call Reconstruction, where the Northern troops protected black people from their former slave owners. And for just about 12 years, black people voted and they held office and they owned land and they built schools and they flourished. And then the North just stopped protecting them just like that. Supremacists really wanted to keep the racial social order, and their answer to this problem, so let's not mince words. This was a terrorist campaign. Yes, people were terrorists. From 1882 to 1968, 4,743 occurred. Many historians believe the true number is underreported. So their goal was essentially to say to the black community, yeah, I guess you technically have the right to vote, but if you do, me and my friends will come find you and your pregnant wife and torture you to nobody will do anything about it, and I will go to church on Sunday like it is all good. So do you want to vote? And yes, the government allowed this, including both political parties. Politicians and law enforcement were either complicit or participants. I had so many commenters saying that was so long ago, don't live in the past, we need to move on, that was hundreds of years ago. No, it wasn't. This was 1968. That was 54 years ago. Maybe 1% of people who committed these atrocities were ever held accountable. These are not accusations, but an important reference point. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell would have been about 26. Donald Trump would have been 22 in 1968. The people who got away with this very well might be making laws today. The past is now. It's not even past.
There are rogue teachers in America's classrooms right now.
Rogue teachers.
Rogue teachers.
Parents send their children to school to be educated, not indoctrinated into ideology.
What ideology are they being indoctrinated into?
Let's just say children in America cannot read.
They often dodged questions with talking points.
You're being evasive.
Really? The Din Mothers for DeFuhrer were being evasive. Can't imagine why. Don't look at me like that. They're the ones quoting him in their newsletter, not me. We don't want our kids indoctrinated. Do you know how much teachers make? They don't need a second job indoctrinating your stupid kids. Have a hard enough time as it is teaching them math and science when mommy and daddy are at home telling them that the earth is flat and vaccines aren't real. The only thing your kids are being indoctrinated with is reality. I think that's what you have the real objection to. Let's be honest, you don't want them learning about the true American history. You don't want them knowing that members of the A+ community are actually born that way and that it's not a choice. You banned books about Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson. A book about a little girl learning to love her black curly hair. I wonder what the common thread is with those 3 books. If a little blonde girl reads a book about a little black girl coming to terms with her black curly hair, what exactly is the worst thing that's going to happen? At best, she's going to have a better understanding of her classmates. At worst, she may, I don't know, want to get a perm, maybe a weave, ask questions about edges. Honestly, I don't know that much about hair. How exactly is banning books like that preventing indoctrination? Indoctrination of what? Knowledge of hair care products. Moms for Mein Kampf, I have a serious question for you. What are you not afraid of? I'm only asking because the only things you do seem to approve of would have been all the rage in 17th century colonial England. Well, anyway, this has been Doc for Diesel Street saying please visit defenseofdemocracy.org. They're a non-political group doing all they can to combat all the from organizations like Moms for Liberty, and they could definitely use your help.
Now, slavery in the United States was a 246-year-long apocalypse of kidnapping 300,000 African people, transporting them across the Atlantic, beating, torturing, and raping them, and working them to their early unalivings. The arch-to-the-cyst idea that slavery was a positive experience of self-improvement for enslaved Africans is not new. It is the same arch-to-the-cyst reasoning the United States State President Thomas Jefferson used 240 years ago in his 1785 notes on the state of Virginia, where he wrote that many enslaved Africans have been brought up to the handicraft arts under the tutelage of the palm color people. Now, it is the same reasoning American abolitionist and writer Frederick Douglass pushed back on in 1845 when he criticized the myth of the happy slave. The idea that Europeans stole African people from West Africa and then trained them up to be farmhands and blacksmiths is ludicrous beyond measure. As historian Michael W. Tweety has written, because rice was not indigenous to the Americas and plantation owners had no knowledge of how to grow it, enslaved Africans with experience growing it were brought to fuel its husbandry, feeding the U.S. Eastern Seaboard, Britain, and provisioning many parts of the British Caribbean. Elsewhere, it has been documented African men with iron-making skills were imported in the state of Virginia to work as blacksmiths. Iron workers were an elite group in West and West Central Africa. There is plenty of historical evidence to disprove the ridiculous claim that the Florida State Board of Education is trying to push about slavery. But this is by far not the only problem with its new curriculum standards. With language like positive contributions and African patriots, it is trying to veer away from addressing the horrific realities and effects of slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, and palm color vigilantism. The middle school benchmarks mentioned the need to analyze slave revolts that happened in early colonial America and examine the Underground Railroad and its importance to those seeking freedom, but say absolutely nothing about why enslaved black people would revolt or steal themselves to freedom, even when the transatlantic slave trade or the nature of American cartel slavery is included. It is in the context of systematic slave trading in Africa or in comparison with indentured servitude contracts. Now, embracing the historical wrongs of slavery is crucial for several reasons. This is why palm color people and the United States really need to embrace this. Firstly, acknowledging the past allows for a more accurate understanding of the present. Slavery has left a lasting impact on the social, economic, and political structures of the United States. By recognizing this, it means addressing systemic issues that persist and work towards a more equitable society. Fostering empathy and understanding is essential for building a united and inclusive nation. Recognizing the suffering and injustices inflicted upon black communities during slavery creates an opportunity for genuine dialogue. It allows for the acknowledgement of shared history and experiences, fostering connections that contribute to a more harmonious society. Moreover, addressing historical wrongs is a fundamental step towards dismantling systemic racism. Many contemporary disparities and inequalities have roots in the legacy of slavery. By confronting this history, society can actively work towards dismantling discriminatory structures and policies that perpetuate inequality. Attempting to dismiss or forget about the impact of 400 years of slavery undermines the ongoing struggles for justice and equality. Embracing the truth, focusing on correction, and actively working towards preventing such atrocities in the future is not only a moral imperative, but also a practical necessity for building a fair and unified nation. It's about learning from the past to shape a more just and inclusive future. This is the reason why addressing historical wrongs is very essential in order to recognize that the repercussions of slavery extend beyond individual experiences to societal structures. Economic disparities, educational inequalities, and healthcare disparities often have roots in the systemic injustices perpetuated during the era of slavery. The wrongs of the past society can actively engage in. Now, this involves implementing policies and initiatives that aim to rectify historical injustices and bridge existing gaps. This commitment to restitution helps create a more level playing field and ensures that marginalized communities, particularly Black Americans, have equal opportunities for success. We have come to the end of the video, but what do you, my viewers, have to say about this? What are your comments on these videos? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below, and thank you for watching. See you in my next video.